Hi, this is Brother Murdoch, and we're going to talk about a classic programming interview question, and it's not just for programmers. IT administrators, cloud engineers, all kinds of people will hear this question in their job interview. The question is, please explain to me and draw on the whiteboard a three-tiered web architecture. So they're asking you to draw how a web application works. What is a web application? A web application means a website that allows you to do some kind of function beyond just reading information. So if you're reading a page that tells you about a local hotel and it gives you information about the hours they're open, that is just a website. But if you are able to create a reservation, that's getting close to a web application. Some web applications we all use, or a lot of us may use, are Gmail, Google Drive, and Canvas. Those are all web applications that we use primarily in the browser, but you'll notice that they all also have a mobile application as well. So let's draw the three layers or the three tiers of a mobile app or web application. So the first layer is, you guessed it, either the browser or our mobile app. The next layer after that, we're going to show you a little bit more about it, and then we're going to draw it. So I'm going to go to an application called Steady, and I'm going to go to dev.stedi.me, and then I'm going to right click and say inspect, and I am going to click on the network tab, and I'm going to log in. Actually, let's create an account first. So Tom Tester, and his email is tom.tester3@hotmail.com. His phone number is 801-888-8888, and I'm going to give him a birthday of 2001. Go, and then I'm going to give them this password, which is not very secure. Okay, now I'm going to clear my network tab by clicking this clear button, and I am in Google Chrome, so if you want to follow along, you can. You just need to make sure you have Google Chrome open. Now I'm going to click the submit button, and I have created a user account. Now if I click this user URL, you'll notice there's some information here that's very useful. My browser just made a call to a URL in the cloud. The URL is https://dev.steady.me/user. And you're going to say, Brother Murdoch, there's nothing interesting about that. That's just another URL. Well, when we get back to our interview question, we're going to talk about what that URL means. So the first thing that happens when I load a page is that page has to come from somewhere. That's going to be coming from typically a server, and we call that a web server. And web servers can be as simple as GitHub pages, where you've just got HTML, and that's what we're doing. We're just downloading that HTML. Now, when I want to create a user or log in, that's a different matter. So where is that going to go? So I'm calling the /user URL. Where is that going to go? Is that going to go to the same web server that I got the HTML from? Most of the time, it actually, well, I don't know if it's most of the time, but a lot of the time it will not go to the same place. So this is just going to be what's called our content web server, which just has HTML and CSS and JavaScript in it, and it's just used to load that into the browser. And then we have what's called our API. So this is our API server. So we often will simplify in an interview and we'll call these all one layer. We'll call it the API layer. And when I went to create that user, that's what I'm talking to. I'm talking to the API server. So even though they have the same domain, we can do lots of things in our cloud network configuration to route the /user request to one server, and then the main index HTML or the main homepage to a different server. So you might be asking, we were going to have 3 layers. 1, 2. Where's the third layer? The third layer is the database. This is it. So I'm going to have my API server save data into a database. And that's the last layer. Excuse me. Save data. And this is our database. So those are the 3 layers, and the web is the same as our mobile app. So the mobile app could call here for content, but I guarantee you that a mobile app is going to call an API server. If it's going to save data or get data, it's going to call this API server to do that. So that's what it does. When I create a user, my mobile app will call the same URL in many cases that my website called, and it's going to end up in the same database. And that's how, if I log in from my app, I can use the same user that I used on my web page using the browser. So now we're going to look at how this can be done using some other tools other than a browser, because sometimes I want to test just my APIs. I'm going to skip the browser, I'm going to skip the HTML, and I'm going to call my APIs just to test those. So let's look at how to do that. I'm going to go into VS Code now, and I'm going to open a new window. So I just clicked File, New Window earlier, and now I'm here. And I'm going to click on File, Add Folder to Workspace, and I'm going to go into my Documents, yes, and I'm actually going to add a different folder, File, New Window, File, New Window. And then I'm going to say File, Add Folder to Workspace, and I'm going to say New Folder under my Documents folder. So I click Documents, and then I'm saying New Folder. It looks slightly different on Windows, but it's the same idea. There's still a New Folder button, and I'm going to call this, calling this API curl test. And you're asking, what is curl? You're going to find out. So I'm clicking Add, and we are going to use a command called curl that will help us to call an API from the command line. This is really useful for lots of reasons. We can use it to test things out, and we can also use it to automate certain things that we want to automate. So the first thing I'm going to do is say new file, and then I'm going to say data.json, and in here I'm going to create JSON, which is JavaScript Object Notation. It's a data format. So I'm going to put in here 2 fields. The first field is username, and the value for that is Tom Tester tom.tester3@hotmail.com, I think. Let's see if that's right. tom.tester3@hotmail.com. All right. Now I'm going to add the password field. So comma, password, and then in colon and in quotes, I'm going to put in my password, which is not a good password. So this is the data I'm going to send to my API, and then I'm going to go to the terminal, and in the terminal I'm going to use curl. So I'm going to run the command curl, which is normally installed by default on Windows and on Macs, curl-d at, then I'm going to tell it the name of the file that has my data in it, data.json. And then I am going to say -h, which is for a header that I'm sending. And I am going to send it a content type header, which says I'm sending application JSON. JSON is saying that the data I'm sending is in JSON format. Then I'm going to say -x, and I'm saying post is the type of call I'm making. I'm doing a post, which means I'm sending data to the API. And then I'm going to call the same URL that we will call in to when we want to log into the website. So I'm going to call that now. And let's see what happened here. Oh, it should be dev.steady.me/login. And look what I got. I got a token. That means I have successfully logged in without a browser.